Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to do the woodblock project from start to finish, and you'll learn some new tools along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all this. Go to a top view, and I'm going to start just by drawing a. This time I'm going to use a rectangle, so I'm going to type REC for rectangle. Enter. Specify my first corner. I'll hit 0, enter, and it starts blooming out of that. First it wants to know the length, which is left to right, and then it'll want to know the depth, front to back. So I'm going to type in 1 apostrophe for foot, 6, enter, and then 1 apostrophe for foot, enter, and now I've got a rectangle 1 foot 6 by 1 foot. So now I'm going to go into perspective so I can see it in 3-dimensional space. Click on my rectangle and type EXT for, and because I used extrude curve last time, it came right up, so I hit enter. I still have my solid selected here, so it's solid. And then I go 6 for 6 inches, enter. And then you notice that the yellow rectangle is still highlighted here. I can hit delete to get rid of that. So now I just have my solid object, which is preferable. You want to keep your geometry very clean, get rid of all of your line work after you're done working on it, that kind of thing. So now that I've got this shape, what I want to do is I want to round this side and then what we call chamfer this side. So fillet this side, which means to put a radius on it, and then chamfer this side, which means to put a like a beveled edge on it. So I'm going to start with the rounded side. So I'm going to type fillet for rounding, and then there's multiple fillets. Fillet is for regular fillet is for 2-dimensional lines. Fillet edge is what we want to do for 3-dimensional spaces. Then after you bring up the command, you want to change this radius first to 3 because it's a 3-inch radius, and then select the edge. And you'll see the number 3 right here if you do it right. And then you just hit enter, and it gives you a little preview. Enter one more time, and that gives us our filleted edge. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to chamfer this edge over here. So I'm going to type chamfer, and then you see chamfer, and then chamfer edge. Again, chamfer is for 2D, chamfer edge is for 3D. So chamfer edge, enter. This time our dimension is 4, so I hit 4, and then I'm going to click on the edge, and again you see 4 here. Enter, enter one more time. So we've got that edge chamfered. And then the last thing that we want to do is, well, there's 2 things. We got to chamfer this edge 4 as well, and then insert that box and subtract it out over there to create that negative space at 6 inches by 6 inches. So if I want to bring up the same command I just used, since I used chamfer edge, I'm just going to hit enter, and it brings up the last command I used, which is really good. It speeds up our workflow. Since last time we used the 4-inch chamfer, we're going to have that set there again. This time I'm going to chamfer this vertical edge right here. Click on that, and then hit enter. Gives you a little preview. Enter one more time, and we've got our edge chamfered there. Then the last thing we want to do is put our 6-inch by 6-inch block there, and we can do that by typing box, enter, and then I'll just click and start to drag it out. I can go 6, enter, 6, enter, and then height, 6, enter. So yeah, you can draw 3-dimensional forms from the beginning. Okay, now I want to move this box into that space and then subtract it out. So this is the positive space of the negative space that we're going to create. Again, make sure you've got all of these on. And I'm going to use the move tool. So I just type MOVE and hit enter. Click on the object to move, enter, and then what point do I want to move it from? It's going to be on the midpoint on this flat line here, because it's 2.5 inches from here and 2.5 inches from there, which means it's in the middle here. So if I grab it by this midpoint here, and you see where it says mid, that's how I know I'm grabbing it in the right spot. And then if I right click, I can kind of move around here, and then I'm looking for the mid on this point here. All right. So if I want to make sure that I've got that in there correctly, I can right click and go to a X-ray view, and you can see the box inside of there a little bit clearer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to erase that section using this block. So 3D operations where you're describing the interaction between two objects, we talk about in Rhino. Boolean is the commands that we use. So it looks something like this. If you click on it and hold it down, you see all the different options you've got for Boolean. You can also, of course, type Boolean, but I'm going to do Boolean difference. So if I select that one, then it says specify the object to subtract from. So click on this, and then enter, and then specify the object to subtract. Click on that, enter, and that gives us our shape. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And then just to clean up geometry in general with Rhino, you see these kind of lines that are dividing up the space. You want to make sure that all of those are nice and clean for rendering and other purposes later on. We're going to go to the very top up here and go to Solid, and then go to Solid Tools. Go to Faces, and then merge all faces. Click on this object and hit enter. And if there's anything funky, it fixes those. So say we've got a weird dividing line somewhere, it should fix all those so that they line up properly. Okay, so that's the object. Now we want to lay it out, make it to scale, all that kind of stuff. And the way we do that, we go up here and click on Layouts, or you can just type Layouts. You can specify the page information right here, initial detail count. If I wanted to make that, more than one, I can do that there. I'll start off with 4. Do it in landscape, and I can specify my printer here, and then go OK. And see, by default, it kind of gives you this layout. Layouts are broken down into viewport windows. So that's what these little shapes are here. And you can modify and edit those to demonstrate objects to scale, that kind of thing. So first things first, I'm going to double click inside here, and you'll see that the grid turns on, which basically means that I can now control the object inside of here. First step is to go ahead and go up to the top here where it says View, and then go to Layout, and then go to Scale Detail View. You get this window up here. It says Value 1. It's talking about inches. So if right now what it's set at is 1 inch equals something, I want to make it 3 inches equals a foot. So that's 3 done, 12. Done. So that's 3 inches equals 12 inches. Then I can double click out to get out of it. Next step actually I want to do is double click back in, right click, and go to technical. So that gives me a technical rendering of the object. Double click out of it. And then I want to do my other layouts. So what I'm going to do is double click back in here, right click, and move the mouse to kind of orient it inside of the window the way I want. Double click out, and then double click into this one and do the same thing. Or if I match properties, I can select an object to modify this one, enter, and then source object, if I select this one, enter. I guess that didn't work. Never mind. Scrap that. We'll just do it the long way. AutoCAD, that works. So you'll find that sometimes I get confused which commands work between each one. Bear with me. Okay, so again, view, layout, scale, detail view. 3 done. Oh, hit enter. Bring up the same command if you mess up. 3 done. 12 done. And then right click, technical. And then right click and move it up into position. Kind of line it up with the one right above it. And I'm going to get pretty close here. And then I want to actually put one more viewport window under here. Manipulate this viewport window so it looks a little bit better. So if I click on this window, right click, and then go to control points on here, it gives you these points that I can click, detail, and drag up. And then if I want to, I can copy, enter, well, actually, I think I might have to turn the points off. Then I can copy this. C-O-P. And you saw I turned the points off by right-clicking. So right-click, points off, points on, that kind of thing comes up there. So copy. And I'll click on this base point here, and then click on this base point here so that I keep them all nice and lined up. And then if I double click in here, right click and go to a different view, I can go to set view, I can go to a back view and move it around here. So it lines up, double click out. And you can see I kind of want to move this around a little bit more, so I'm going to click on that, right click, put my control points on, click on this detail view point, that's fine, and then click and drag to move that up. And then I want to move this one, so I'm actually going to go MO for move, click on this little edge there, and then do the same to there. And then I can turn points off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete these two here. Then I'm going to select these two and copy them over because they're about the right size. So if I copy those from here to there, and now I'm actually going to grab these two and move it down a little bit so I've got room for my text to right there. Double click in here, right click, go to set view, left, right click and pan it down and line it up. Double click here, set view, left view, oh, right view, sorry, set view, right view. And I'll just kind of move it around, get it nice and lined up. Double click it to get out of it. Okay, so now we've got our viewports all scaled, showing our technical drawings that look very similar to how you should have made your hand-drawn version. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and label all of these. Looks like I don't quite have enough room in here, so I'm going to move this up again. And it's right about there. So now I'm going to type some text. So I'm going to go ahead and do text, enter. Specify the start point. Probably put it right about here. And then this comes up. Helvetica, you know, that's always a good one. Height 0.25 inches is good. That's going to be, a quarter of an inch. Should be legible. So I'm going to go ahead and put my caps lock on and go top view, create text. I'll hit enter again, bring up the same command, kind of line it up a little bit, and then I'll go front view, create text. Enter again brings up the same command. Click, double click here, back view, create text. Enter brings up the same command. Actually, the easiest way to do these last two so that they are nice and lined up, click on that. So if I option click on one, option click on the other, or shift click I should say, sorry, and then copy. And then whenever I move things, I try to click a base point way out here so that I make sure I don't accidentally find a snap and move it in the wrong area. So that's why I'm clicking down here to specify my displacement point. Right there, enter, and text. Object properties, no. Okay. So I right clicked on it to go bring up object properties, and now I can go left, view. And then this one, do the same thing, scroll down here. Text, scroll down here, and go to right view. Close that. Okay, so I've got it all labeled. Don't worry about it overlapping the viewports. When we print it up to the PDF, we'll make sure that that stays, that they don't show up, so that you've got just the text showing there. So now let me do the text one more time. Click here. This time I'm going to put in, my name and date and all that stuff. And create text. Okay, so now we've got this all set here. Let's go up to the top. We go to File, Print, and everybody should have a PDF printer. You guys should all have Creative Cloud, which means you've got Adobe Acrobat installed. If you don't have Adobe Acrobat installed, please install it. You need to be able to print to a PDF, save as PDF, and we go Desktop, and then you title it your last name, your first initial, and P1 for project 1, and then save. And it should look, oh, that's not it. This is the one, P1. So that's it for project 1, or it's not project 1. I should take that back. So it's not P1, it's P4. It's the first digital project, but it's project 4, so P4. I'll change it just to keep it correct. Okay, so that's project 4. Next, we're going to be doing the styrofoam project. So it's going to get a little bit more complicated, but it should still be pretty straightforward. Thank you very much.